Oh, the bar? I don't know. So anyway, what we said was that we could divide out the x minus 2's, solve the problem, but when we're done with it, we have to look for another solution, and it's whatever makes this binomial equal to 0. In this case, x would be 2. So 4 is a solution, and 2 is also a solution. Okay? All right. Now, the next question, and this to me is a really good example of what the Common Core does. The Common Core likes deeper understanding. So when you first see this question, there's a little discomfort level with it. But the truth is, it's a really easy question. So we got to start shifting from skills, which is what we've been building all year long, into adding that Common Core mindset into the way we do things. If you wrestled for South Ocean Middle School, for me, when I coach, you are going to take the match down the other guy's throat. You are going to come at him. You are going to try to tear his head off. You are the boss of that mat. Kelsky used to have a sign on his desk that said, before the match, I'll shake his hand. After the match, I'll shake his hand. During the match, I own him. And that's exactly my attitude. You are out there to take the match down his throat. If he's going to beat you, he's going to beat you at your best. You're not going to be a coward. You're going to go after him. So I want to make sure we develop in us a really successful attitude. And the successful attitude is not to be intimidated by a question that looks a little weird, because it's really not hard. Let's go through this step by step. Ready? It says the area of a rectangle is 25 square inches. That's pretty easy. The formula for area is length times width. Have I done anything difficult yet? Okay. Now, the next thing that I got going on here is, whatchamacallit? If the width is 15 inches, what is the length L? So what I'm going to do is plug into the formula. I'm sorry, if the width is 10 inches, what's the length L? I'm going to plug it into the formula. I actually screwed this up. I thought they were looking for the width, so I thought it was the length was 10. So change the W to an L on your paper if you want. 10 times the length, because it says here the length times W, and if W is 10, 10 times W is 25, and then you just solve the equation. Divide by 10, 2.5, right? Yeah. Okay. How many people got that right? Now that you look at it, don't you say to yourself, it's that easy? Right? Now that you look at it, isn't it like, man, that's a piece of cake? All right, next one. What about if the width is 15? So now instead of doing 10L, what do? 15L. I divide by 15, and I simplify the fraction to 5/3. Do not use your calculator and write 1.7 or 1.66667. Don't convert to a decimal. Leave it as a fraction unless they tell you to convert to a decimal, because kids will constantly round off, and unless they tell you to round off, you're going to be wrong. Okay. Then it says rearrange the formula to solve for L, and they do it for you. When it says solve for L, what does that mean? Make it say what?
L equals.
L equals. So to make it say L equals, we have to divide by W. So L equals area divided by the width, or A over W equals L. Now, what they say is, show that you get the same answer if you put in a 15 again. So I put in a 15 again. 25 divided by 15 is 5/3. So I get the same answer either way. So what they're trying to show you is that you can either use the area equals length times width formula and divide, or you can adjust the area's length times width formula for the length and say, well, it's the same as the area divided by the width, and get the answer that way. Both ways work. Any questions? Okay. It really is pretty straightforward. It's not meant to be anything particularly difficult. All right. Now, today's lesson. Circle all the ordered pairs that check in that equation. Or let me rephrase it because we don't have all day here. Find 2 ordered pairs that work in that equation. Okay? Find 2 ordered pairs that check in that equation. Okay, can somebody tell me one coordinate that works? Lily?
3, 2.
3, 2? Yes, 3, 2 works. Minor? 5, 10? Yes, 5, 10 works. Okay, Sam, another one? Sam, Savannah?
0,
Zero,
-10.
-10. Yes, that works also. Okay? Now, how did everybody arrive at those answers? What did you do? Lily?
I did 4 parentheses, 3 parentheses, -2.
So you checked it. Yeah, and if it checked, it works. Agree? All right, so everybody, we're all good with that, right? All right. Now, what you did on that one is you solved one equation and you made sure it checked one point in one equation. Now what we're going to do today is something slightly different. This time, we're going to do 2 equations at the same time. And there's 2 variables. Now, the cool thing is, it's not very difficult. But it just requires a little bit of an adjustment. Do you remember when we would graph 2 lines at the same time and find where they meet?
Yeah.
We call that the simultaneous solution, graphically. What does the word simultaneously mean? The same time. So we can solve graphically. When you solve graphically, what do you think you use? A graph. This one doesn't say to solve graphically. In fact, there's not even x and y. This one we are going to solve algebraically. If you solve algebraically, you're going to use algebra. Now, this one is a super cool and super easy one to do. This is like a gift, okay? When you get a question like this, you should be jumping up going, ah, la, da, 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 la, 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 whatever. I don't know the name of that song, but whatever that song is. I think it's from Fiddler on the Roof.
What?
Do you know the movie Fiddler on the Roof or the play Fiddler on the Roof? It's a classic. It's about a Jewish matchmaker.
What?
Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. You've never heard that?
No.
Oh, it's a good movie. It is. Everybody I know pretty much likes it. All right, so I have one equation that says 3a minus b equals 8. I have another equation that says a plus b equals 4. Remember how before we just checked all those and we found 3 different solutions to it? And there's an infinite number of them. There's actually an infinite number of solutions to just the top one. There's also an infinite number of solutions to the bottom one. Just like a line, right? If we graph a line, isn't that a picture of all the solutions to one of them?
Yeah.
And then we graph the other one, it's a picture of all the solutions. And we wanted to find the one very special point. The one special point where they crossed, where they intersected, and that was the simultaneous solution. Well, that's what we're looking for here, but I'm going to do it algebraically. And what I notice is my b's match up, and they're opposite signs. So I can just add them. Die. What's 3a's plus an a?
2a.
3a plus an a?
4a.
4a. And what's 8 plus 4?
12.
12. Now I'm going to divide by 4, and I get a equals 3. Now, one mistake that students make is they stop here. If I stop here, what's the problem? Yeah, you don't know what b is, right? We got to get b. Question or observation?
Question.
Go ahead.
Why don't you subtract instead of adding?
Because the signs are opposite. If I subtracted the bottom one, I'd get negative b and another negative b, which would be negative 2b. Okay? If the signs were the same, I would subtract. Now, a is 3. Lily?
I was gonna say, what if you have a problem and the B's aren't lined up?
You're peeking ahead. That's the next one.
No.
All right. Well, no, if they're not lined up, we actually have that coming in a couple of days. But if they're lined up in separate numbers, then we have to work on it. But let's just get this one done. You know how, like, if you play baseball, we start you hitting on a tee, right? We do it easy. This is hitting on a tee. All right. We'll get up to fastballs a little bit later, and then curves. All right. So we kill the bees because they have opposite signs. It's very important. Look, opposite signs. Always want opposite signs when you do this. 4a is 12, divided by 4a is 3. Now, I can use either equation to go back and get b. Which equation do you think is easier to use?
The plus b.
The bottom one, yeah, because everything's positive. So I like the bottom one. So I'm going to go a plus b equals 4. It says a is 3, so I'm going to substitute it. 3 plus b is 4, minus the 3, b is 1. So my final answer is 3, 1, or a equals 3, b equals 1. If I graphed these, what do you think would be the coordinates of the point of intersection? If I graphed them, where would they cross? 3, 1. Doesn't it look like a coordinate? All right? So if I graphed them, they would graph at 3, 1. I could do the same exact question graphically. I would get 3, 1. I can do it algebraically. I would get 3, 1. So I got to be able to do it both ways because sometimes they give you a question on a test that says solve algebraically. So then you have to use what? Algebra. And if it says solve graphically, what do you have to do? Graph. All right. So now if you peek ahead, what's the difference between the question for number 4 and the question for number 5?
This one, the numbers aren't the same.
Yeah, the numbers are not the same. Now, do you remember back in the days of fractions? Oh, I know I just said something very disgusting that you hate deeply. Back in the days of what? Fractions. Oh.
That doesn't even know what it's back in the day.
Okay, it's back in the day. Now, when you deal with fractions, what did you have to do to combine and add fractions? You had to get a what? A common denominator, least common denominator. And that was kind of when you started hating them,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Well, you got to kind of do that here too. But you're not going to put any fractions in the problem, so you don't have to worry about making fractions.
No.
But we're going to use the same idea with respect to denominators. Look, I can get, on any one of these problems, I can always get rid of either the x or the y. It doesn't make a difference. But personally, Andre,
Yeah.
I really like to get rid of whichever one has opposite signs. Which one has opposite signs here? Everybody? The y. So if I told you, what's the least common denominator between 5 and 2, what would you say? 10. So I'm going to take the top one, multiply by 2, and the bottom one, and multiply by 5. So the top one comes out to be 4x plus 10y equals negative 2. In other words, I simply distribute it to all 3 terms. Isn't it true if you have an equation and you multiply everything by the same thing, the equation stays the same?
Yes.
Okay, good. You do the bottom one. And when you do that, I think you come up with 15x minus 10y equals 40. Agree?
Yes.
Take it from there, tell me x and y.
Mhm.
Are you crying?
Okay, so I add them up. Guys, I add them up. What's 4x's plus 15x's? 19x's. Die equals, what's negative 2 and 40? 38. I divide by 19. X is what? 2. Now, am I done? No. Here's the biggest mistake that kids make. The biggest mistake that kids make is they get to the point where they find their first variable answer and they stop. What do you have to do now that you've found the answer? What's that? Plug it in. Now listen very carefully, look at me. See these 2 equations that are typed out? Those are called original equations. See the 2 that are written in blue? Those are called derived equations. What does the word derive mean?
Change.
Yeah, it's come from. It's changed and come from something. So when you derive an equation, you have changed it. And it is possible to make a mistake from the original equation to the derived equation. So we never, ever, ever want to plug into a derived equation. We always want to plug into an original equation. So now pick either original equation and go back and get y. Make sure you choose the original. A lot of times it doesn't make a difference, but every once in a while, if you made a mistake, it will make a difference. Okay. Which equation would you like to use and why? Why?
The first
Why?
one,
Because you just like the first one? I mean, that's a reason. I think the first one is right. There's something I like a little more about the first one than the second one. Dominique? Yeah, you got the positives in the beginning. So I try to avoid negatives if I can. So I'm going to get 2 times 2 plus 5y equals negative 1. That's 4 plus 5y equals negative 1 minus the 4 minus the 4. I get 5y is negative 5. Dividing by 5, y is negative 1. Okay? Any question about how to get that? What would be the coordinates of the point where the two graphs would intersect? Minor? 2, negative 1. Very good. Now, O for Mr. Frank. You know what? Before we do the Mr. Frank, the respect for Mr. Frank part of the problem, I would like, everybody has partners sitting around them. I would like one of you to have and talk to the other partner and explain how to find the first variable to them. And then when they're done, the other partner turns around and explains how to find the second variable to them. Go ahead.
When it's like, wait, when it's like.
Like, for instance, we could have Andre and Sarah pair up. Andre, you can go first if you want, or Sarah, it doesn't matter. Tell Sarah how to find X. And then when you're done telling Sarah how to find X, Sarah, you tell Andre how to find Y. Go ahead, go. As a general process that we learned today. This is called, by the way, this is called the elimination method. Well, hey, hold it, I forgot to mention this. Why do you think we call this the elimination method? Because you're eliminating a variable. Now, whenever they're lined up, you do the elimination method. What I want you to do, kind of as a closure activity here, is I want you guys to talk to each other about the skills involved. So one of you explain to the other how to find the first variable, and then the other person explains how to find the second variable. I don't think it'll take more than 30 seconds. Begin.
30 seconds.
So what you do is you multiply by 2, shut up, and then you do that, and then you do that, and then you do this, you do that.
This and that don't work.
Well, what am I supposed to say?
Be more specific. First variable, second variable. Okay, what I like that I heard is I heard Savannah say, and then you use the distributive property and so on and so forth. So I heard some key terms being used. It's very important to learn the skill when you're speaking. My wife, I love my wife. She can drive me crazy. And my wife knows this because she will look at me in a moment of clarity. And my wife has apologized to me once or twice in 30 years, so she does not apologize. And yes, she has been wrong more than twice in 30 years. My wife, every once in a while, she will say to me that living with her adds to my stress level. It can make things very difficult. And one of the things that can make things difficult with my wife is my wife likes to use the words this and that. So my wife will say something like, I want you to do this, and when you're done with this, go make sure you go do that. And then, an hour later, she'll come in and say, well, why didn't you do whatever it was? I'll go, what are you talking about? She'll go, I told you to do, and she'll be very specific this time. And I'll go, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she'll say, I told you to do that. But in her mind, she's thinking, like, let's say I wanted you to solve for a variable. And I said, hey, go solve for that.
Ew, that's what my mom does.
Right, and you don't know what it is.
So
And then they say, I told you to do that.
No, and then I ask her again, and she's like, I just told you, like, actually.
Right, so does anybody else here know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Have you ever been there, done that? Right? My wife does it all the time, and she will look right at me and swear that she told me to do it. And I will look right up and go, I have never heard those words once. I don't know what you're talking about. And the truth is, she did tell me to do it, but she used other pronouns like this and that. So Wyatt, we never use this and that. We want to be very specific about what we're doing, okay?
I was pointing.
Yeah, I get it, but we want to be able to convey our understanding fluidly without the words this and that. All right, so now, now we have our ode to Mr. Frank moment. Everybody silent and bow. Okay, so we have our ode to Mr. Frank moment. What did he say? I don't know. Anyway, this is the moment of memory of Mr. Frank. I'm getting very sentimental about this. Mr. Frank is going to retire at the end of the school year. And I am really, really bummed because next year, Mr. Bruno and Mr. Friend retire. And they, along with Mr. Began last year, Mr. Began, Mr. Bruno, Mr. Friend, and Mr. Frank are my 4 best friends in the building. I have taught with them for almost 30 years. I love them. I truly love them. They are very, very close friends of mine. And I do not like the thought of coming to work without them. I just don't like it.
When are you retiring?
2 more years after next year. So I have,
Oh,
3 years.
yeah, I have 2 years without them. How bad is that, right? Is that depressing?
Mr. Frank hated me and Andre.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he
Listen.
For a really good
Hold it.
reason.
did.
Hey.
He did.
Hey, hold it. I think it's really important you understand the difference between hating a person
disliked me.
and hate. No. Hey, listen, this is a very important lesson. There is a difference between hating a person, hating a person, and hating what a person does. I love my son Bobby very much. I would die for my son. But there were things he did that I hated. So sometimes when a parent gets upset with you or a teacher gets upset with you, you think it's you personally. It's not. It's something you did. So realize the difference. I'll guarantee you Mr. Frank doesn't hate you. Okay?
Didn't.
Now, listen, hold it. The solution we said is 2-1. Guys, hey, the ode to Mr. Frank moment. Mr. Frank loves to graph, Mr. Frank loves to check. Now, 2x plus 5y equals -1. We always go in the original equations, not in the derived equations. 2 times 2 plus 5 times 1, no, -1, right? Equals -1, and it checks. So you gotta check in both, okay? We will do the same lesson tomorrow. So 2 shots for learning. Hasta la vista, vaya con Dios, toodaloo. Ta-ta, arrivederci. Smile a lot. Ciao, arrivederci. Adios, amigos y amigas. Cheerio. Ta-ta. Nice job. Uh-oh.
My mom actually had Mr. Frank.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
She talked to him at the concert.
Ah, okay. There you go. See you later, guys.